So today I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how to make some paper mache clay. I do my recipe a lot like Ghoulish Cop does his. This recipe is actually going to be Jay Olson's recipe. I'm going to use it so that I can go ahead and add it to my comparison that I'm putting together on my website so everybody can see Ghoulish Cop's, the original Ultimate Paper Mache, Jay Olson's, a couple other ones that I came up with, and then one of my own that I've modified from Ghoulish Cop's as well. So I'm going to show you some of the steps, try to explain some of the reasons behind what you do and why you do it, and how to tweak and make the recipe work for you. Because when I first started out making the paper mache clay, I had no idea what I was doing. I'd put it together and sometimes it would just turn out to be this pasty, soggy mess. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, I knew that, all right, yeah, I could probably add a little more flour, but that would maybe make it a little bit more doughy and a little bit more clay-like, but I didn't know the ins and outs. So with this and with the web pages I'm putting together for explaining the comparisons and the consistencies, I hope I can help somebody else out a little bit. But there's a lot of other good videos out there now that weren't available even just a year or two ago. So first off, Ghoulish Cop always blends his paper. I like the cellulose fiber. I don't like the toilet paper a whole lot. There's a reason behind that. The reason behind the toilet paper, or me not liking the toilet paper, is because it just tends to mulch up and fall apart, because that's really what it's designed to do. The cellulose insulation fiber doesn't do that. It still stays together and binds together and just provides a better finished product, I think. Granted, the toilet paper makes it smoother, but it's a heck of a trade-off, right? So I've already blended this. I just blend it, and my blender's kind of dying. I'll blend it and kind of shake it and mix it with this stick that came with it. It already blended for about 5 minutes. The reason you want to do that is to get it broken down really well, so that it'll absorb the moisture and work better. It'll be a more consistent blend. It won't be clumped up, all that good stuff. After you do that, what you got to do is you got to go ahead and strain it. So I always have a couple containers here and my strainer. Just pour this through the strainer. Get a good little bit to start with. Something else I like to use quite a bit are these disposable or portable cutting boards. So they're pretty nice for working with clay. You can stick the clay on it. I can stick it on my drying rack. It's portable, and it's firm enough that I don't have to really worry about anything falling apart. So what you do is you squeeze the water out of the paper through the strainer. You want to get a good amount of the moisture out. The reason you're getting this out is because you don't need a whole lot of moisture for this paper clay. You in fact want very little moisture, and as you'll find as you start making this, you'll always have more moisture than you need. So just keep squeezing this out. After I get enough of it out to where I can pick it up, I'll just pick it up and I'll squeeze it out in a ball here. I'll go ahead and do it over this bowl, so I can just get a good majority of that out of here. Once it gets to the point where it's a pretty decent little ball here, you can see there's a nice ball there. It should just kind of break apart but still be a little bit sticky. That's about the consistency that I like to get it to. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to dump the water from this bowl into that one, move that back, and get a little bit more. So following Jay's recipe, basically what I've got written down here is he says 2 rolls of toilet paper. I calculated that out to be roughly what I would say is about 4.5 cups of paper. I don't know if that's right, could be give or take. I can go ahead and check on that, but for now that's what we're going with. So we're going to do 4.5 cups of paper on this. So same process there, about the same consistency here, so I think that's good. If you look at this, this is a 1 cup measuring cup. If we smush this down in here, 1.5 bowls of these is about a cup of paper. So we've got quite a bit more that we're going to need to go ahead and get here. So this right here, there's 1 cup. That's almost another cup. So I'm not going to blend the paper. I'm going to let the paper soak for a little while because I'm letting the smoke out of my blender. Maybe what I'll go ahead and do is I'll just revert and use my my trusty drill and mix it up like that. Just to show you what I'm doing here is I like to use buckets that are very deep so that I don't need to worry about making a mess at all. Outside the blender goes. So what I like is I like this mixing bit that I got at Lowe's. I use it for mixing the clay, and I'm sure it'll do a fine job for mixing the paper. I've got this squished out pretty good here. I don't dump this water down the sink or down the toilet. I always dump it outside because it's got paper in it, and I don't want to clog up my drains. So, Jay's recipe: 2 rolls of toilet paper, 2 cups of joint compound, 1.5 cups of glue, 1 cup of flour, and salt. So, empty bucket, little water residue, 1, 2, 3¼ cups of paper, a couple cups of joint compound, I keep my joint compound in one of these creamer containers. That way I don't have to go outside to the garage to get joint compound out of a large bucket every time. In the summer months, I do my work in the garage, so I don't have to keep it in here. But in the winter months, it is way too cold out there to do anything. We'll call that 2 cups. Next up, 1.5 cups of glue. I'm going with the good old Elmer's white glue. You can use wood glue too, it's quite a bit more expensive. These are going to be indoor decorations, so I will use this. They'll also be clear coated with a nice polyurethane coat, so they'll be pretty water resilient, or water resistant anyway. So there's 1 cup. Here's another 1/2 cup of glue. We'll go with 1 cup of flour. I got my flour here. There's a little more than 1 cup, or 1/2 cup. And that'll finish it off at 1 cup. Sit that right here for now because I know we'll need it here in a little bit. And a little salt. So the reason I'm using the salt here is this is what Jay calls for. Personally, I prefer the linseed oil because the linseed oil will help harden this. But to stay true to his recipe, I'm going to go ahead and go with the salt so I can do a pretty valid comparison. So we'll just do a little bit of salt here. What the salt does is it helps keep this from molding, so you'll be able to keep the paper clay around for about 3 weeks before you have to worry about it molding, so you don't have to use it up right away. And we'll probably mix for about 5 minutes. I guess we'll see here. I'm going to go ahead and beat on the balls of paper here to break them up a little bit before I start this up. I'm also going to stick it in the low setting. So I got more torque, and I'm just going to move it around and hold the bucket with my feet until this is mixed up and at the right consistency. Beginning to thicken up pretty good. I'm beginning to see less of the paper, and it's just becoming more of a smooth gray substance, so I can tell it's getting mixed pretty well. Alright, we're done mixing. It's pretty sticky, but I'm going to go ahead and hand knead it from here because it's mixed up pretty well. The trick that I learned from Gary Fay is to have cookie sheets around. Those are quite nice. Do make sure you don't wait too long to clean up your stuff, because once the clay dries on this, it's hard as a rock. I'm going to get some cornstarch. I'm going to stick it on the tray here. Smooth it out a little bit. Grab me a nice ball of clay about that big. Start kneading it here on the cornstarch. It's going to stick to your hands quite a bit at first. I could have probably blended this a little bit more with the drill and the paddle bit, but I don't mind hand kneading this to get it to the right consistency, so go ahead and do that. Just keep folding it over itself, kneading it. Add a little more cornstarch to your tray. Don't be afraid to use a bit of the cornstarch here. I like using the cornstarch to finish this just because it absorbs more moisture than flour does, so you can get this part of the process done more quickly. The cornstarch tends to give it a more chalky feel, but when you're only using it for the finished part of the process, it's not too bad. So you'll get it to a point where it feels like it's pretty good and it might almost be done, but then you'll start to work with it and it'll still be really tacky, so just keep working it until you get it to the right consistency. This is where I really recommend going to watch Gary Fay's video for making paper clay. He has a pretty refined video. He uses a caulk that we don't have here in the U.S. that I'm aware of, so I won't be making his recipe. You'll know you're at the right consistency when you can start to be able to pinch it into some shapes, and it'll maintain those shapes pretty well. It'll still stick to your hands because I've got stuff on my hands already, so it's going to keep sticking to my hands because of that. If my hands were clean, it wouldn't stick quite as much. And this is the part that just seemed to be missing when I was first getting started here, is I just did not know how to get the clay to the right consistency. I'm going to go with this as is. Go ahead and pop it in my Ziploc bag. Scrape the next bunch out. Put it on my tray and repeat the whole process over again. Once you get pretty good at this, you'll be able to make a batch of clay in about 30 minutes. The first time or two, it's probably going to take you an hour, so don't expect it to be too terribly quick. This actually still has some lumps in it, so I'm going to have to knead those out and get it all mixed together a little bit more. I'm also going to have to scrape this bucket with my my spatula to make sure it's clean so I can use it again next time. Otherwise, I'm going to be roughly trying to scrape all this dried stuff out. It's not fun. That's another part of it that makes it go quick, is if you've got all your tools, if you've got your spatula, if you got your dry measuring cup, your wet measuring cup, a couple containers to strain into your strainer, and a big mixing bucket and your drill and all that, and you've got it all set out and ready, it makes it a whole lot quicker and easier just to blaze through the process to get this to the way you want it, so you can start the fun part, which is sculpting, right? Some recipes call for more paper, and the more paper tend to produce a lighter clay. It seems to be more malleable and blends together a little bit better when you're trying to put pieces of clay together and hide the seams. When you have more cornstarch, if you add a lot of cornstarch to your recipe up front, it seems to crack more, and you can see the seams much more easily, and they're harder to conceal. It's all in what you're looking for and what your end product is going to be. I don't mind the rough seams. It's more about the texture for me. I just want the texture of the clay to be really like a natural clay would be. And that's kind of my goal. I just want to be able to sculpt it and carve it and then stick it on my drying rack and let the piece dry. The paper ones tend to dry a little more quickly because they're more aerated, so that works too. But the ones with less paper tend to dry really hard like a rock, and they're rock solid and feel like they are not gonna break or fall apart anytime soon, whereas the paper ones are a little bit more flexible and malleable. And I'll tend to put them on a paper mache armature, when I'm doing jack-o'-lanterns or when I'm doing something else, so bats or any of that. So I would say this one's almost there. It's still just a little bit too sticky. This is a bigger clump than the other one was, so I'm gonna have to work it for a little longer. When you store the clay, store it under a table or in the shade somewhere, because It does have flour in it. It may have salt in it to help inhibit molding, but it will go bad more quickly if it's in the sunlight. So you certainly want to put it in a shady area. And I hate it as a paste. I've used it as a paste. The first pieces I did were more pasty than they were clay-like. And while they turned out really well and they were rock solid when they dried, I hated trying to sculpt with it. It was like trying to ice a cake, and just didn't give me pleasure in it. Okay, so I'm just going to ball this up a little bit. Back. Squeeze the air out a little bit. And set it aside while I go clean up all my tools, and then we'll start part 2, which is to actually do a little sculpting with this clay and see how it works out.